The first thing I want to talk about is a fundamental mistake that Iran Diaz made in the early rounds that showed off his inexperience. In an orthodox versus southpaw matchup, you must not allow the southpaw to step to the outside of your lead foot to gain the dominant outside angle. That's because this allows the southpaw to expose your center line with their left hand and attack your flanks with the right hand. And Sor Rungvisai's specialty is to gain the outside angle on his orthodox opponents and repeatedly smash their liver with straight left hands. And Iran Diaz did nothing to prevent this in the early rounds. Here we see Sor Rungvisai waltz directly into Iran Diaz's space, and Diaz does nothing except back straight up into the corner, and Sor Rungvisai is able to step onto that outside angle. We can't really see the feet from this camera position, but you could tell that Sor Rungvisai's foot is clear on the outside. And there you see Diaz try to circle out to his left, outside of that dominant lead foot position and outside of the corner. But Sor Rungvisai, you see him hook him back in with that lead right hook. That right hook keeps Diaz from circling out and keeps him in the corner. So from here, Sor Rungvisai has the lead foot dominance, and Diaz is going to stay in the corner and basically take these left hands to the body. So here we see that Sor Rungvisai's foot is clearly on the outside here, and this allows him to set up that straight left hand to the body and to the head. So we see the left hands come in, and Diaz cannot do anything because he's in a position. He has to make a positional adjustment, and so you see him hold on. And here you see Sor Rungvisai beautifully does an inside pivot as Diaz is trying to hold on. So you see that Diaz is trying to circle out, and Sor Rungvisai lets him circle out as he's clinching him and inside pivots. And there you see him push him off and land another left hand. Beautiful boxing from Sor Rungvisai. So I really just want to emphasize this one sequence here, and Diaz does the smart move by clinching Sor Rungvisai to stop the assault. And since Sor Rungvisai clearly has the left side of Diaz blocked off with his lead foot, Diaz is actually going to try to escape to his right. So Sor Rungvisai is beautifully going to counter this with a pivot, and this opens up the space needed for a left hand to the body. And so you see Diaz try to escape to his right, and Sor Rungvisai is going to pivot out and create the space needed for this left hand to land. Beautiful counter. Now you're probably wondering what Diaz should have done to prevent Sor Rungvisai from walking right into his face and taking the outside angle so easily. What Diaz could have done was to use his lead hand to control Sor Rungvisai's lead hand. This would have allowed him to control the space between them and allowed him to set up a counter much more effectively when Sor Rungvisai walks in. Not only does controlling the space between you and your opponent with your lead hand function as a strong defensive tactic, it also functions as a way to set your own offense up. If you take control of the empty space, you oftentimes make your opponent freeze momentarily. This could have allowed Diaz to step in with a left hook or a straight right hand while taking the outside angle. Instead, Diaz does nothing but stand there with a tight guard. So Rungvisai is going to take control of the distance with his lead hand, which is just there to occupy Diaz's guard momentarily. And while Diaz is pretty much frozen from seeing Sor Rungvisai's lead hand, Sor Rungvisai uses that to take the outside angle once again and line up another left hand to the body. There's really no excuse for why Iran Diaz, who has a substantial height and reach advantage over Sor Rungvisai, would not at least try to use his lead hand to prevent the southpaw from waltzing right into dominant positions. This is something I'm sure he'll get better at as he gains experience, but he ended up eating a lot of left hands, pretty much left hand after left hand as a result of it. Watch here as Floyd Mayweather uses his lead hand to control Victor Ortiz's lead hand and throw the right hand. This sets up his offense by controlling the space and freezing Victor Ortiz by controlling his lead hand. This is something you must do if you're fighting a southpaw as an orthodox fighter. It's quite clear that Diaz wanted no part of fighting inside the pocket with Sor Rungvisai and resorted to boxing from the outside where his reach advantage would come into play. It's also quite astonishing how his method of doing so was relying on a weak, lazy, pity-pat jab that Sor Rungvisai was easily able to punish him all night for. Watch here as Diaz is going to try to keep Sor Rungvisai off of him with this lazy jabs, and Sor Rungvisai has absolutely no worry about those jabs, so he's going to walk Diaz down, all the way down to the ropes. See how Diaz just backs up because he can't keep Sor Rungvisai off of him with these weak jabs. He's going to fire another weak jab, and Sor Rungvisai is going to just slap that out of there with a parry and shoot at the left hand. And Diaz is just running all over the ring now. He keeps backing up, now is in the corner. He tries to fire off another lazy jab, and Sor Rungvisai counters him with a left hand to the body. You must have a strong jab in order to keep a power puncher like Sor Rungvisai off of you. So what could have Iran Diaz done better? Number 1, Iran Diaz was moving around the ring way too much. He never gave himself the opportunity to plant his feet so that he could land a meaningful counterpunch. Number 2, when Diaz wasn't being chased around the ring, he didn't control the space between him and Sor Rungvisai to prevent Sor Rungvisai from freely walking him down in the first place. And number 3, if you're going to commit to the stick and move strategy, you must deter your opponent with a stiff, commanding jab that demands respect from your opponent. A guy like Srisaket Sor Rungvisai will eat you up if you feed him weak, lazy jabs to counter all night. And I just want to say thank you everybody for giving me 400 subscribers. This was my first YouTube goal, and the next one I just want to hit 1,000. So as always, if you like my content and want to see more, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you all for watching.
Now when she burning, I'ma chill for a minute, cause ain't no loving good enough if you burn while I'm up in it. Yeah. And that's real up and real deal, holy feel. And now you hookers and hoes know how I feel. Well, if it's good enough to give up a proper chunk, I take a small piece of some of that funky stuff. It's like this and like that and like this.